Yesterday, what did we talk about? Oh, Wednesday. Predator tense. Okay. And we all no, that was on Tuesday.
And we did the opposite.
We did commands.
Oh, negative.
Yeah, 2 commands. Affirmative and negative 2 commands. Today kind of goes along with that, but we're going to be talking about the irregular 2 commands. Okay, there's always got to be irregular verbs. Okay, and we're going to be talking about some of them. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a list of the verbs that we're learning that are irregular. And again, it goes back to the whole idea that a lot of the most commonly used verbs are going to be irregular, based on the fact that because they're used so much, the language is more likely to change and evolve. Okay? Our verbs we're going to use are hacer, poner, tener, venir, salir, decir, ir, and ser. Okay? Those are 8 of them. Alright, let's talk about real quick on what they mean. What's hacer? To do or to make. Hacer la tarea, hacer la comida. Okay, poner, what's poner? To put or to place. Okay, poner la mesa. Tener, to have. Venir, come here. Salir, to leave or go out. Decir, to say or to tell. Ir, what's ir?
Go.
To go, and ser, to be. Alright, so those are our verbs, and they have irregular forms of it. Now, we do have our irregular affirmative. And they're also irregular in the negative. Okay, what's an affirmative command?
You're
Telling someone to do something. Whereas a negative command? Telling someone not to do something. You guys are so smart. Alright, so our affirmative commands, which is green, because we're good to go, right? Alright. The affirmative command for hacer is haz. H-A-Z. Okay, so you might say hazlo. Do it. Haz la tarea. Do the homework. Poner is pon. Remember we saw ponte en forma, get in shape. Okay, pon la mesa, set the table. Tener is ten. Ten cuidado. Be careful. Venir is ven. Okay, ven acá. Come here. Salir is sal. Okay, sal de aquí. Get out of here. Decir is di. Like dime. Tell me. Ir is ve. Ve, go. And ser is say, which means be. Okay. Now, do you see some similarities between these? Some of them.
Yes.
What do you see?
Cutting off the endings.
Yeah. These ones right here, you just drop the ER or IR. Okay. It's just kind of like the natural stem, which works. Okay, this kind of is the same thing, but they changed the C to a C. Then these right here, okay, a little different. Right. So those are our affirmative commands. The best way to learn these is if you think of a phrase where you've used it before, which is why I went through some of those, like hazlo, or haz la tarea, pon la mesa, ten cuidado. That will help you remember how they're being used. Now the negative ones, we'll use red, are also different. You're going to see more similarities with these though. Okay. The first one for now to tell someone to do something, haz. To tell them not to do something is no hagas. Okay. To tell someone to put something somewhere, pon. To tell them not to, no pongas. this case, it's like a hard G sound. Okay? If it's like usually with like an E right after, it's like an H sound. Okay? No pongas. Tener would be no, what do you think? Tengas. Now, before we move on, real quick, what is the yo form of hacer? Yo hago. It's, remember how when we learned the negative two commands, we put it in the to form and had the opposite to ending? In this case, you put it in the yo form and had the opposite to ending. Because what's the yo form of poner? Pongo. Yo form of tener. Tengo. What's the yo form of venir? Vengo, so it's no. Vengas. See, you're getting it. Salir, no. Salgas. Because it's yo salgo. No salgas. Decir would be no digas. Right. Ir would be no vayas. Uh-oh. It's different. These are the only ones that had the G-O yo forms. Because it's yo voice. And this is no vayas, and ser is no seas. Alright. Now I put these this way because if you notice, these do kind of follow a little bit of a pattern. Okay? Now since they are irregular, it is difficult to actually come up with a rule for irregulars. Because that's why they are called irregulars, because there's no rule. But you can categorize these saying, hey, you know what? All of these do have that irregular yo with the G in it, so it does follow that sort of pattern for these words. Okay? That's a way to remember it. Notice even with these still have the drop the ER or IR, and you have it there. So you kind of have to learn them, you kind of have to practice them. The best way to do it again usually is make a list, flashcards, front, back, side, practice, get to know them. Are there any questions about the irregular two commands?